Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode right here on the Rachel Varga. I'm your host, and I'm really excited to talk to you all about a topic that is pretty exciting. We are going to be diving into all things how can we have it all? How can we have it all? This is a very exciting time in the world where, there's just a lot of transitions happening. We're at human choice points. The next thing that's going to happen is going to be transhumanism choice points. Mark my words. But for now, let's focus on the here and now. How can we have it all in regards to health, wealth, and beauty? How are all of these things intricately connected, and how can we have it all as kings and queens over ourselves? And before we get into the rest of today's episode and basically sharing with you one of my favorite individuals that I've come across recently, I would invite you to subscribe to the Rachel Varga official Facebook page and YouTube channel. And on the YouTube channel, be sure to hit the bell so that you know when new episodes are live, and also subscribe on the Rachel Varga podcast, available on all major podcasting platforms. So today we have joining us, we have Makhosi Nejeser, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She is known as the Royal Shaman. She's an authentic African shaman specializing in personal development and energetic alignment. She is a human potential expert and spiritual ascension master. Makhosi helps individuals create powerful transformations that amplify success, and she teaches women how to achieve limitless abundance through her teachings in queendom and how we can master our own queendom. Through her groundbreaking modality, the energetics of euphoria, Makhosi teaches her clients and guides to ground themselves in the feeling of bliss, calling in the state of euphoria on a whim, regardless of external circumstances. A fully initiated Zulu shaman and trained in ancient Egyptian spirituality through the Dagon Mystery School, Makhosi now works as a spiritual guide and authentic shaman to help serious seekers fulfill their highest potential. Mindfulness and metaphysics mastery through her groundbreaking modality, the energetics of euphoria. Makhosi works privately with highly successful individuals to create a potent pathway to a sacred and soul-fulfilling life. She's been featured in Refinery 29, Entrepreneur, Pop Sugar, Business Insider, Authority, Nikki Swift, Thrive Global, and on KTLA 5. Welcome, Makhosi Nejeser. How are you today?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm really excited about this conversation. I've really just been kind of brainstorming before connecting with you here. Just these concepts of, busy moms, working professional, they typically put their health and their beauty to the side while they're working on their wealth and things like that and working. And also we have a lot of those in sort of like the spiritual space that will see working on themselves and their beauty and their skin and caring for their physical vessel in the aesthetic realm as something that might not be in alignment with them. So there's a lot of misconceptions around having it all in regards to health, wealth, and beauty, but really they're not disconnected. And I would absolutely love to dive into that today. So can you share with us, Makhosi, what are some of your personal practices in daily living that boosts your overall wellness? And what are you seeing your most successful clients do as well?
Yeah, this concept of beauty, aesthetic beauty, and really experiencing a life where beauty and health are intrinsic to our spiritual development is a concept that's pretty much foreign to most mainstream people. So for many of my clients, when they come, one of the very first things that we look at are some of just like the basic health and wellness, and beauty as well. What are some of their basic rituals around those things? Because everything is energy. And what a lot of people don't realize, when you don't take those few moments out of your day to prioritize yourself first, that then trickles into everything you do. So one thing I notice, many people are very guilty of, myself included, but I've definitely looked at having the tendency to roll over and pick up the phone first thing in the morning really sets you up for a day where you are giving your energy to everyone else but yourself. Meaning you're giving your energy to, what Susan said on Facebook or what the news said in your little alert notifications on your phone, right? You're putting the focus on external things first rather than taking just a little bit of time for yourself. So for me, my personal practices, I mean, there's many. I would say most of my day is personal practice, and and then everyone else gets the overflow from that. But some of my favorites are, I start the morning with a solo cup of, at this point, tea. I know I'm staying away from coffee because it does tend to put us into overdrive, overthink, anxiety, so on and so forth. And so I really enjoy utilizing tea instead. Also, first thing in the morning, I prioritize the supplements that are crafted. I take a lot of care in making sure that I have someone crafting a supplement protocol that is specific to what I need, right? Not just what my mind thinks that I need, but actually, what vitamins and minerals are deficient and I need support on, and whatever is going on at that moment. And I start my day off every day with washing my face, thoroughly cleansing my face every morning. And most
I wonder
days,
who you learned that from.
I know, right? I'm on this. I'm on this with you. I'm like, I'm doing my homework.
Good. I know you would be.
But I do have that moment of, cleansing my face and just taking that moment out for me, putting on either just some simple sunscreen. That one came from you too. But then also I have some days where I do my beauty routine, my full makeup, and I actually go into my meditation space like dressed, like fully ready to go. I don't just like get out of bed. I put myself completely together and then go into meditation. So those are like my core morning rituals. I now have begun to incorporate infrared sauna. So I bought an infrared sauna blanket, and I've been doing that 3 to 4 times a week. I go to the spa every week, which is amazingly luxurious that I do that every week. But yeah, I'm just always looking for how I can really deepen my relationship with self on a daily basis.
That's beautiful. And you have a child. How old is your little one?
Yeah, my kiddo is 8 years old, looking like, I don't know, he looks like he's 12.
So for you taking that time to go to the spa, whether it's every week or every couple weeks or every couple of months, right? That's time for you. And I'm sure when you come back to your family after taking that reprieve for yourself, you are just your most kind of recharged, most rejuvenated version. So really, you're then showing up for your family and yourself in your personal business life better. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. I think sometimes we can get into mom guilt around how much time, so the quantity of time that we're spending with either our significant other, if we have one, or with friends, and also with our children. So there can be a lot of weight around that. But if we shift to, well, what if I focused on having higher quality time when I do have that? And so for me, there's nothing more important than having certain times for myself. I give a lot to everyone else, but I want to be able to give to them from my overflow. And so I have boundaries around how I spend my time and protect it like it is very, very sacred, because it is. And when we allow ourselves to have our cup full, what we can give is 10 times more potent, because we have received first and we are giving from abundance versus taking away from negative.
Beautiful. And so you go to the spa every week, and I go off grid for buying every week. And in fact, last night, just on a whim, my girlfriend rings me up. Hey, why don't we go check out these sweet trails? And I was like, okay, yeah, sign me up. So I'm looking at my nails right now, and you may have prettier nails than I do. I actually have like engine grease under my nails because I was working on the vehicle a little bit. So yeah, I know. Trust me, I'm not really as I appear. I'm as tomboy as they are made. But it's going to look different for everybody. So if it's going and getting your nails done, like our fabulous friend Angela Sumner, who's been on the show before, she's our mutual friend who introduced us. And maybe you like having pretty nails too. I don't. I play guitar. That's my time away. Getting in nature, with my feet on the ground, having my off-grid days. It will look different for everybody, or even just taking that time to create a beautiful meal for yourselves and others, or exercise, or read this fabulous book that I'm reading right now called The Mists of Avalon, which is about the queens from King Arthur's times who really held it down. You might not have heard too much about them, but it will look different for everybody. But do what makes you feel good. And I think that this is pretty common knowledge now. Highly successful individuals do have their own daily living practices, and they take the time to carve it out. So thank you for sharing that. Do you think that having better energetic, well, this is an obvious question to me, but let's just get everybody else tuning in on board. Do you think that having better energetic alignment will lead to aging well and more beauty?
Well, of course, I'm going to say yes, but let me dive into a little bit of why I see that and how. What I see when we are not operating in our energetic alignment, there tends to be a either hypo or hyper stimulation in certain areas. For most of us, because we live in a society that really values certain qualities like planning, logical thinking, and analysis, doing, doing. Many of us will lean towards the hyper side when we are not in alignment, and we will be overdoing it. So overdoing it, number one, is going to put more stress on the body, creating more free radicals in the body
And oxidative stress and accelerated aging.
and accelerated aging. You see what I'm, so they go hand in hand. Also, like, just from the aesthetic side, like when you worry and you're always like furrowing your brows and you're getting the worry lines all the time, I would much rather have laugh lines from being in such euphoric alignment all the time that I could just be smiling and laughing. That's just a little tease, but there is a direct connection between the freedom that we feel in our life, the fulfillment that we're feeling, the joy, the bliss, so on and so forth, to how we will age. I've seen people who are the same age as me, and I'm like, I feel for them. I really deeply feel for them, because you can see it coming out on their skin, and the dullness in their face, because everything has become about worrying and thinking and like, what is my purpose, and da 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 da, versus really allowing themselves to be in flow and stop trying to figure everything out to the end of your life and actually get present and look around and be grateful for all of the magnificence that is in your life. I feel like most of us sometimes forget that there are aspects of our life right now that we dreamed of at one point, that was like the dream. And now here we are living it, and it becomes like a prison.
Yeah, it's
It
funny as
literally becomes that.
yeah, I love everything you're saying. And it's funny, I was just working outside and I love being able to work outside in nature and all of that gloriousness. And I was actually working to Cypress Hill. And one of the lines in there was, my worst day is actually someone's best day. So sometimes if we're having not so good of a day, check yourself. Just check yourself. Like, really, is it that bad? Could it be worse? Probably. And I love what you said about not waking up and rolling over and looking at your phone. And it's crazy because I did that this morning and I always hate myself when I do it because I always wake up with this intention of listening to my Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation, because when I do, and I spend that 30 to 45 minutes tuning into that one, my days are extra magical. And also, one of the other things that you brought up, which I just think is really important to talk about, is the manipulation of our focus through these social networking apps. And I have definitely observed this. It's like when you tune in, it's like, okay, now all of a sudden you have this political agenda in front of you. That's why I like my off-grid days, is because I don't have any cell reception. I turn off all Bluetooth, all of that. And what that allows me to be in that type of space is the type of space that's going to be my most truest version and not have these other interferences. And you're a shaman. I mean, I don't need to explain this to you. You understand this on a much more deeper, esoteric, spiritual, interdimensional, quantum level. But for us right now, that's one of the easiest things that we can do to maintain our energetic alignment, to be in our most highest purpose, is to really understand that we can quite easily be manipulated if we're not careful and we don't have our guard up and we're not using our wise discernment. And then also, yes, moving away from overdoing it. For years, I would work with women and they would say that they have a special needs child and they don't have time to look after themselves. Or every time they show up to their appointment, they're like, oh, I just did this, and now I'm at my appointment. And they'd wear that busyness as a badge of honor. And those are the individuals who are aging the poorest. And frown lines, yes, we want to nip those in the bud, but the smile lines are beautiful lines. Not every line needs to be obliterated on our face through rejuvenation procedures. Sometimes having a little bit of those cute smile lines around the eyes or around the lips is fine. In fact, when you're 60, if you're sitting at the dinner table and you got someone sitting across from you in their 60s, they do not have a wrinkle or fine line or age spot or blemish on their skin. They actually look very strange. So we want to be very cognizant and check ourselves to not focus on the imperfections, because sometimes it's the imperfections that are really what make us perfect. I know that can sound cliche, but it is quite true. So what are some of the best ways we can optimize our mental and emotional health?
Mm. I want to pull back this concept of overstimulation again. I just really want to hone in it because I see it happening so much. And it's one of those things that people don't necessarily recognize immediately the effect that it has on them in the long term. One of the little things that I use is called the Stay Focused app. And it literally, you can set it up to block certain apps. You can put time limits on them, or how many times you can open it, and so on and so forth. And I will use that to block certain apps like social media, limiting my time to being on those. But what people don't understand is that the danger of when you're overstimulated, you are essentially giving away your sovereignty. Because when you're overstimulated all the time, not just by social media, but it can also be by always doing stuff, constantly go, 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 go. And The other one I see, especially with busy moms, a tendency to people please and not say no when they should say no, is that you get into this cycle where you are essentially a ticking time bomb, a ticking emotional time bomb. Because every time, because you're overstimulated and your nervous system is like on edge all the time, the littlest thing can happen and it will be like World War III in your mind. And you'll take it and begin warping what it means, and causing division between yourself and the people you care about, and so on and so forth. We live in a society that really is pretty superficial, not just in like looks and beauty and da 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 da. Like that is, there's an important component. But what I mean by superficial is because we have access to so much information, we love to go very shallow with it. Like, oh, well, what does this mean? Dr. Google for 2 seconds. We look at two websites. All of a
Stop
sudden,
using Google, everybody. Use DuckDuckGo. You will be shocked at the different type of content you find, because Google's all algorithm based, paid for. It's actually going to be sending you information that will support your confirmation bias. So DuckDuckGo is like the better way to do things.
yes, I love that. I love that little tidbit. People don't realize the impact of confirmation bias. We already have it innately, and then you add an algorithm on top of it, and you become an emotional time bomb. And you are constantly finding yourself triggered and emotional and on this insane roller coaster because you keep tapping in to little bits of information that then just feed your confirmation bias. So one of the best ways that you can preserve your mental and emotional health is to stop just seeking information all the time. I call this mental masturbation, where you're literally just constantly going, like surface level, and allow yourself, if there's something you're deeply curious about, devote yourself to it and devote yourself to going deep with it and then integrating it into your life, right? So this is, since we're talking about beauty, one of the things I see people doing a lot as it relates to beauty, which is a kind of a physical representation of what's happening as well, is the addiction to buying all the products.
You said it. I didn't have to. Yeah.
Right? It is like, oh, look at this new product. Oh, look at this new product. Oh, look at this. And you buy it.
And then it goes in the drawer where products go to die.
And you never use it again. You never actually got to see if it was going to work for your skin because you used it for like 7 days. And then all of that, it was wasted energy, wasted time, wasted money, right? And all you did was just make yourself feel like you're doing something, but not actually doing or becoming or improving or evolving in the way that you originally set out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a mic drop and a half right there, girlfriend. Yeah, we have to get out of this consumer mindset. It's like, oh, there's this Instagram ad to buy this supplement or use this skincare product. Well, when you mentioned oxidative stress, that was my reminder to take my antioxidants to work at reducing oxidative stress in my body so that I age like a healthy rock star and can avoid the 3 facelifts like Jane Fonda did. So stick with us, guys. We are taking y'all along for the ride with us. So I love that you shared that analogy of just buying a product to, in the moment, give you that surface satisfaction that you're doing something good for yourself. But you may actually not know that there's this huge underbelly to the aesthetic beauty, anti-aging product world of white labeling. You could find a product online for like $100 to $200, and that same formulation could literally be the same $8 formulation you find on the drugstore shelves. I kid you not. This is rampant. And I'd probably even, I don't even know the statistic, but I would venture to say it's anywhere from 25 to 40% of the products you're seeing advertised to you are white labeled, where these companies are just buying the formulation from a chemist and then slapping their name on it. So that's different than making your own skincare formulation. And I'm very involved in this world. So thank you for talking about the energy masturbation topic. I thought that was brilliant. I gotta say, my biggest hits of creativity and just relaxation happen when I'm literally like reading outside or I'm out in a walk. I love to take my nature times around sunset and my cold therapy plunges or off-roading and stuff like that. When you take yourself away from this information of misinformation and disinformation overload, you then get to tune in to who's maybe even trying to help you out behind the scenes. And, we need to learn how to do a little bit more of that when we're ready, and also making sure that we're using our wise discernment. So, what are some of the best ways we can optimize our mental and emotional health? Because I love what you said. When we're go, 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 we're overdoing it, we're going to go in adrenal fatigue, we're going to age faster. We really need to care for our mental and emotional health. What are some of your tips?
Oh, so many of them are just very simple. The one that you just shared, like really connecting with what is like your thing, right? What is your thing that reconnects you to self, that helps you to ground. Just the simple act of grounding is one of my favorite things. Literally just going outside, taking your shoes off, stop worrying about the dirt, put your feet on the ground. And listen, I love getting my nails done, but also I'm not someone I'm not afraid to get dirty. It just comes along with it. Grounding is so important. I think most of us, especially over the past year and a half, we have been so connected to technology and sometimes forget that we actually are nature. We're nature at our essence, at our core, and connecting with a body of water, connecting with earth, allowing yourself to feel wind. Very important for just your overall well-being. Another thing as well that I think a lot of people negate the benefits, and I've been talking about this a lot, is the value of dance regularly. So I was initiated in African spiritual traditions, and in African cultures, and really what you could just say indigenous spirituality across the world, you just see there's not a separation between dance and everyday life. It's like there's multiple times throughout the week when there's just movement of the body as it relates to the drums specifically. But that connection, it's very funny. One of the treatments for depression in many of these spiritual systems is dance, 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 because in that moment you are shedding the identity. You're losing yourself in the beat. You're losing yourself in that moment, and you're no longer allowing yourself to be tied to the external, and you're allowing yourself to connect with your inner knowing, let's call it that, without getting too super spiritual and out
No,
there.
no. This is like a pretty woo podcast. Like, you go for it, girlfriend.
Okay, good. So this is where you really are connecting yourself with source. When you are able to let go of the identity that you hold on to, who you believe yourself to be, what you believe to be happening in the world, who you think that you are. When you can let go of that is when you are most in touch with source. the more that you are attached to who you believe yourself to be and what you believe to be happening, the more you believe that that has to be right and that is how it is, the less connected that you are, and hence more depression, anxiety, overthinking, over worrying, da 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 comes from that. So dance is a huge way. Anytime that I start to feel just a little bit disconnected from myself, I turn on music, but not just any music. It's something about the drums that is activating your connection. So straight straight drums. Also, a lot of people don't know I've belly danced for over a decade. That is one of my favorite ways to connect more specifically with my feminine essence, but it really does help you to um, let go of the weight of mental and emotional baggage.
I love that you mentioned drums. I took part in a virtual conference. It was actually led by a fellow Canadian. Her name is Raji from Ontario, and it was called the Star Codes Conference. And they ended it actually with some beautiful drumming. And I'm going to set the stage here. Lying on the ground. I think I had some nice water with me. I think I even had like my sushi bowl supper with like some nice rice, avocado, some tuna, some greens. I put on some of my linoleic acid from my nutritionist, Justine Stenger, and I had my stereo monitor headphones on. I was just listening to this drumming, lying flat on the ground, and it was so incredibly beautiful. I actually had tears in my eyes. And yeah, I love what you said about drumming. It's such a primal way to get embodied and feel the vibrations. And yeah, I love primal sounds. We kind of really lose that in our modern society. It's like we'll feel silly if we just go and dance in our front yard. Like, oh, what are the neighbors going to think, right? What are my family going to think? Are they going to think I'm losing it? Well, dancing is a pretty darn natural thing to do. We all used to hang out around campfires and have drums and dance and stuff like that. But now we're just glued to our phone. Like, how weird is that? I'd say that's a lot weirder, to tune into an electronic device that's tuning into a stuff that's happening on the other side of the planet, as opposed to being in the here and now. So I think that is just such a beautiful way to just kind of help optimize our mental and emotional health through movement, through listening to maybe some more primal sounds and just really quieting that body, mind, spirit energy. And when you do that, you will be in a more beautiful, receptive, creative flow state. You're going to be more gentle to yourself. You're going to be more loving and gentle and gracious in your connection with others as well. How important is our spiritual wellness, and is it tied to other areas of our lives?
Well, let's bring in a little thing that many people are familiar with, and this is known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And in this perspective, which is where most of us from the West view our spiritual connection and importance and development, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if no one's ever seen it, it is essentially a triangle. And at the bottom, you have what he perceived as the most important needs, which were, physical, food, shelter, da 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 da. And then as you go up through there, you have, your love needs, need for recognition, so on and so forth. And then at the very tippy top, which he was postulating that is the rarest to get to, you have really what is the more spiritual. It's around self-actualization, activating your potential, transcendence, so on and so forth. I actually have been playing with reworking that from a more ancient indigenous perspective. And this is not from one specific indigenous tribe that I got this from. This is just my own perception based on the paradigms that I've connected with. And what I see is that actually the most core foundational piece is the spiritual. So whenever I view someone's emotional, mental, or physical states, they are actually the manifestation of that person's spiritual well-being. So if I see, for instance, someone's maybe doing really well in their health, let's say, they focused a lot of energy there, but their relationships are terrible. They're very disconnected and da 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 da. There's a spiritual root cause for that. If I see someone's mental state is unstable and everywhere they go, they just like are creating chaos and destruction. Well, very often that's coming from a spiritual root. So, unfortunately, our society really focuses on symptoms and glossing over symptoms instead of looking at what are actually the root causes. And almost all of them have a spiritual root at the core. So when you are in spiritual alignment, when you are spiritually connected, you are going to be emanating manifestations in the different areas of your life of stability, really is what it ends up coming out as. And it comes out as what I call euphoria, which, by the way, the original meaning of euphoria is well-being. So I perceive this as not the state of ecstasy, which is like this peak experience, which most people seeking spirituality are addicted to. Euphoria is like if you were dating, if you were dating, ecstasy is, or peak experiences are like the quote unquote bad boy, right? It's like the one that's like the most exciting and, oh yeah, this sounds so fun. But what I'm talking about is like the long-term partner, the stable, the solid, you're still in this positive space, but it's a positive neutral. And you're not in this like severe roller coaster in the main areas of your life. Or sometimes it might just show up in one area. You could have one area that's really great and another that's a roller coaster, a hot mess express. And all of it has at the core spiritual patterning that we can identify based off of what are the manifestations showing up in your life.
Yeah, I would agree with you that, even something like headaches or just a general feeling of unease, maybe you need to do some spiritual cleansing there. And there's ways to do that. One of the resources that I'll share that have really helped me is Dr. Terrence Palmer. He's one of the few experts, very well respected in the UK, where he combines the science of medicine and spirituality. And his website, I believe, is thewoundedspirit.com. And he has a number of great protection resources. And I think it's just something worthwhile talking about, that our spiritual wellness and our spiritual sovereignty can be messed with. And if you don't know about this, now you know. So really don't always open yourself up to this, that, the other thing, this new meditation thing. It might not actually be right for you. So always follow your deepest intuition with what is in your highest good. And when you do a couple of different specific checks, you will then be led to the straight and narrow in a way that's just right for you at that time. So final question here. Can you give some advice on thinking like a king or queen and having that greater perception about our health, wealth, and beauty?
Yeah. So the core component, the core essence of being a king or a queen in your life is sovereignty, right? A queen or a king is sovereign. To be sovereign is to take responsibility for. So spiritual sovereignty, which also looks like affecting your health, your beauty, and so on and so forth, looks like taking ownership for what you are creating in your life. So this does not mean bypassing your other experiences. Those were a moment in time where you did have a certain experience. But sovereignty is choosing how you are going to perceive and utilize the experience that you had. So this is really moving from the state of I'm a victim. Everything has happened to me. This person hurt me. This person did me wrong. I was poor and blah, 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 blah. And then that becomes who you believe yourself to be. Sovereignty is choosing. Sovereignty is choosing. So I had this experience and I choose blank. That is, I mean, it really is like the summary of what it means to think like a king or a queen. So this greater perception, which is really self-awareness or expanding your consciousness, the key here is that as you begin to take ownership, you also have this this moment of where you begin the disidentification process or the deconditioning process, where you begin to become less rigid in what you think that you know or how things have to be. You begin to let go of the ideas of or your attachment to how things should go, how people should act, how things have to be. When you begin to let go of those things and you begin to experience reality just as it is, because reality just is, we're the ones who have the power of placing meaning on it. It means that this person is bad. It means that I am right. It means that I'm wrong. When you begin to let go of all of those things, now you begin to develop greater awareness of who you are being and the patterns that are showing up in your life. And the more that you have that, the more power you have in being able to repattern, in being able to create a different, more desirable future for yourself.
I think that's beautiful. So, no matter what happens in the world this year, you can choose how you wish to respond. And some people are really going to waver with that because their whole reality construct and their belief systems will be shattered. But if we've learned anything over the last little while, we have to be able to adapt, to evolve, to put our body, mind, spirit, energy, health, wealth, and beauty first for ourselves. Put your oxygen on first. And then it will allow you to show up better for those around you in your personal and in your professional lives. So I love that you shared that. Do you have any closing words?
I think the most important thing that has been showing up in the past year and a half that I just want to speak to. Science, up until this point, has had this belief that it is the survival of the fittest, that those who are the strongest survive, that those who are the most rigid are the ones who survive. And I think what you're speaking to, and also what I'm seeing coming out of this time period, is we are really seeing that it actually is, and nature shows us that it is the most flexible, the most adaptable, the most dynamic beings are the ones who not only survive, but thrive. So if you find that you're in a place in your life where you're not thriving, look at, where am I being rigid in the ways that I'm operating, in the ways that I'm perceiving things? Because again, reality, it just is, right? Right now, something could happen. Somebody could literally come into my apartment. I have zero control over that, right? I do, however, have sovereignty over how I choose to respond, right? I have the ability to bend and to sway, or if I hold fast, there's a time and a place for that, but very often staying stuck in your ways will mean you get knocked over first. So looking at where you can become more flexible, where you can stop trying to control everything and instead take sovereignty of, this is what's happening in my life right now. How do I choose to respond versus just being reactionary time and time again?
Yeah, and for me personally, when I've decided to not be that, rigid, stuck in one place, but, ish happens. It's happened I've had two things happen to me in the last year and a half. And if it's taught me anything, it's taught me that I'm actually kind of a badass. And I have been able to cultivate this attitude of resilience and pivoting and knowing that, you need to just listen to your body first and foremost, your body, mind, spirit, energy. And if something with, like, say, your body's wavering, then maybe bolster up your mental, energetic, and your spiritual health. I actually talk about this in my ebook, Unlocking Your Vitality. And because I just noticed this in my most beautiful, vibrant, radiant clients, that they were living their lives in this way. So thank you for everything that you shared today, Makhosi. How can people work with you?
The easiest way to find me is my website, theroyalshaman.com. Or you can also find me on Instagram at The Royal Shaman. I do spend, if I'm on social media, it's usually on Instagram. I spend about 30 minutes a day on there, and I share live videos and all of that good stuff. But you can find out more information on my website.
Lovely. I am so grateful for you taking the time to be here today, Makhosi. It's been a pleasure and a blessing, a pleasure connecting with you. I'd love to have you back on the show. Actually, it'd be really cool to have like a trio conversation with UI and Angela. I think that we would have a lot of beautiful words and messages come through. That would be kind of fun, a little bit racy, but also, keep you guys on the straight and narrow, give you guys a little bit of tough love to keep your body, mind, spirit, energy vibing high. You're going to be more beautiful. You're going to be more radiant. And if you would like to learn more about today's episode, you can head on over to rachelvarga.ca/blog. And you can also find ways that you can hang out with me one-on-one and take part in my skin camp programs to get your skin on point through the seasons, because we got to adapt. We got to pivot. Our skin needs different things between spring, summer, and then fall, winter. So Makhosi and I are here to keep all of you as best we can, for those who are willing to take the plunge and work with us to keep you guys on the straight and narrow and to keep you happy, healthy, and radiant so that you can continue to show up in the world in both your personal and professional settings to build more health, wealth, and beauty. Thank you, Makhosi, for being on the show. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.